Boom, boom. We're recording, everybody.
Hey.
Welcome back, kings, queens, and everything in between. It was really cute when they said that last time. Welcome back to another episode of the Peasant Party Podcast. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. The regular intros. I'm first going to start with my left for our recurring co-host.
Hi.
Reintroduce yourself for a second.
It's me. I'm Annabelle. Hello. Co-host kind of sometimes.
Yes, but really want to turn to my right and introduce my guest. I am so excited to have this gentleman back in studio for a second time, this time with his own episode. As much as I loved having you last time, didn't do justice to all the great things you have. So welcome back, Rudy.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I am, do I go the whole intro thing? Do I do that?
Yeah, give a whole overview.
Okay. My name is Rudy. I go by Rudy A. I'm also known as Rudy Advice. I'm on TikTok. I have about, 300K subs. I give advice on dating, marriage, and co-parenting. I was married 16 years, divorced, single at 39, and I had a great dating life, and I just share tips that work for me. And I have a wonderful relationship now with my ex-wife and my fiance. Rebuilt my life after losing everything, and here I am. So
wonderful. And yeah, when does just to kind of give everyone an overview? When does the Rude Advice podcast come out?
It's been out.
Okay,
it's been out for a few years. I just finished episode 64.
What days each of the week?
Oh, that's on me. I had it on Mondays for I had it on clockwork for Mondays, but now it's just random.
Nice.
So that's on me. It's just a whole lot of things. Having a baby, that's one kind of changes your schedule.
Nice. Oh, yeah, of course. Do you have a favorite episode that's happened recently that you want to highlight or anything like that?
They're all good. I think my most popular, you know how Spotify does that rap, hey, these are your top listening platforms or whatever. They do it for podcasts, and mine was with Sterling Cooper, the retired porn star.
Oh,
yeah, that was my most downloaded episode, about 10,000.
Oh, I haven't listened to that one. I got
Yeah, you gotta check it out. He gives some pretty good advice, yeah.
Interesting.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. That's so cool. And I'm so glad to have you back here. And
thank you.
Yeah, we've had the chance to be on your podcast. I had one episode.
That was fun.
Solo. I've been on your live streams, and when we did one, the two of us, it was a great time. We learned that we all share a love of horror movies.
Yes.
Which is also why I have a really interesting story to share with you.
Oh.
Yes.
Tell me.
I was doing something recently. I called it rejection therapy, where you go and you ask for things that seem ridiculous. And you just see, because people are more apt to say yes to it, and then it just prepares you for things that maybe you're going to apply for or go for. And it just, when people have said no to you more, you're more used to it. It's not a big deal.
This is batshit insane, by the way. To do rejection therapy, I would never do
So it's
this.
fun,
This
and
is
it's silly
nuts.
things. Like I did one once where it was like, I went to a Mexican restaurant, and it was like, ask the server if you can wear the sombrero. And they said yes, and I did. I was like, oh, I have to wear the sombrero now.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Okay.
I'm stressed.
But just silly ones. It's silly stuff like that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I tried it, and I said, I don't know what was going through my head that night. I think Annabelle and I just watched the new Terrifier movie. And
Part 1 or 2?
Two, baby.
Oh,
I haven't seen
yes.
the first one.
2.
Okay.
And I said, you know what would be a really cool idea? If we were in Terrifier 3. So I DM'd the studio that produces Terrifier movies. I know that Terrifier 3 is coming out, and I messaged them, hi, this is probably the weirdest ask in the world, but is it possible that my sister and I can be in Terrifier 3? Nothing wild, just a small part if anything's open.
Serious?
We aren't professional
Oh my
actors
God.
or anything, but we're comfortable on camera, and we host a small but niche podcast, and we talk about our love of horror sometimes. We saw the teaser for 3, and that you might be filming, and if there was any possibility to be in the movie, we'd be grateful. We have a great work ethic and are disciplined and have massive respect for the arts on top of everything. We're willing to be killed in a cool way, if nothing else. And if nothing else, know your extremely scary movies are so amazing. They make me throw up in the best possible way, but the good kind. This is a compliment, but hopefully not too gross. I love you. I don't know why I said that. And they respond by saying, hi, this is not a weird ask at all. It's kind of a common one, but this was done in a so much nicer and well-written way. It means so much to us that you care about these movies. Thank you for the love and support. Unfortunately, we can't give you guys parts. New movie isn't conducive to that, but maybe one day we could talk about things on the podcast, or you could come on
Oh my
ours.
God. That's great.
Sorry we don't have better news, but we really appreciate you reaching out. It is always great to hear from fans and get the chance to say thank you directly.
That is awesome.
So that is why you should always ask for things that you don't expect to get in a nice way.
Exactly.
You never
What's
know
the worst they can say?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Charlotte's kind of the queen of this. You have been doing this since you were literally 16 years old. I don't know if you remember this. I don't know if you remember this, but the Top Chef Junior incident.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that?
I applied to be on Top Chef
Charlotte
Junior.
would just do this shit all the time.
Uh-huh.
She would like, I don't even know. An opportunity comes up, she sees it, she applies, and she wrote this whole like pitch about how I am an amazing cook. I cook for my boyfriend. Didn't have a boyfriend. That didn't exist. Doesn't cook at all. Literally has no idea how to cook.
I know how to
just,
cook
like,
now, but I didn't
well,
then.
now you do.
But like,
it was like this like
but that's the thing is, like,
page-long lie just to like see what would happen. And then they
people-
called her back.
people call you back, and so it's like
Yeah.
always apply for stuff and have fun with it. And so that's just kind of moral of the story. For anyone who's afraid of being rejected in dating, it's a great practice so that no is not a big deal to you.
Yeah, that is an amazing story. I've applied that to who I invite on my podcast. I go to some big names, and again, what's the worst they can say? It's no, or you get no response. And there's nothing wrong with asking. It's better to know and have an answer than to wonder and not know. That's the way I've always seen it.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, so that was my fun story to share with you.
That is
Wanted to get
awesome.
a surprise. Wanted to share it as a surprise.
You know what? I saw Terrifier 2 with my son. He's 16, by the way, at a screening. And I didn't know, I don't think my brain registered what I saw in that bedroom scene. And then it hit me 3 days later. I'm like,
yeah.
oh my God.
Oh yeah,
They
that
had all of
seems so
COVID
good.
to prepare for it, so they went all crazy with it.
And I saw it again live with my buddy on a YouTube live, and I was like cringing. I don't know if I can see it again.
Literally
it's that
rubbing
good.
salt in the wound.
That-
Literally
And
rubbing.
bleach and a few other
and
things.
bleach. Oh, it's the practical effect.
Oh.
Yeah, it's
so
amazing.
good.
Art the Clown. He is just a talented actor. But yeah, where was I going next? Oh yeah. Yeah, we were going to talk about. I have my like quick hit question.
Okay.
So something that I come across a lot, and I think Annabelle is relatively recently single, and it's something we're seeing, quite a bit. So I'm 30. I would say most of my social circle, female friends, late 20s, early 30s,
Okay.
and basically so. As the single friends in that kind of group are going about dating, they're coming across more and more single dads, I would say.
Okay.
And they're never married, no kids. They have little experience dating single parents, and that's probably likely just due to their age range. They're late 20s, early 30s. The guys are dating mid-late 30s, maybe early 40s. And generally, they don't see it as like they're not turned off by it. They're kind of like, okay, cool, this is different. But it's more so that they're finding themselves uncertain about what's normal, what's right, what to expect.
Okay.
Some have said, I fear being, if you've ever seen The Parent Trap, like the Meredith Blake or the evil stepmom,
Yeah.
or a bad role model. So I guess kind of the big questions that they have are around what is, like, if you had a step-by-step guide or thing, like 5 bullet points of, you're a woman, never married, no kids, dating a single dad. What do you need to know?
Well, the first thing I would suggest is if you have like a head start in seeing what kind of man he is, because you get to see what kind of father he is and what kind of relationship he has with his ex-wife. If you go and meet a guy who has kids and you see that he's always speaking ill about his ex-wife, calling her all these names, red flag.
Yeah.
That's a huge, don't go further than that. If he's not a dedicated father or he's not involved as much as he should, that's another red flag. And I feel, because again, I started dating at 39. I had 2 kids who were like early teens. I wanted to date other women who had kids about my kids' age because we have common lives. And the thing is, if you have to understand that when it comes to single dads, I put my kids' priorities first. And in other words, like their safety and who they meet, I was very protective of that. So I didn't introduce a woman to my kids at least for 7 months because I didn't want to bring them over. Hey, kids, look who daddy's new friend is. And I know some guys, believe it or not, who were horrible husbands and shitty dads, but they use the kids as a prop to show the new woman, look how wonderful of a dad I am. We're having a cookout. You want to come over Saturday? She comes over Saturday, and he sees the kids playing, and oh wow, this guy's a good provider. But it's just a farce. It's that. So you want to look and see what kind of a ex-husband he is and what kind of father he is. That's definitely the first one. And 2, you want to understand about his schedule. He's not going to be free. Monday through Friday, he's exhausted. So if you want to go to bars on Wednesday nights, Tuesday nights at 11, he's asleep. Because if he's got the kids that week, he's going to have to get up early to take them to school. So he's exhausted. So his availability is only going to be Monday through Friday. No, excuse me, Saturday and Sunday. And if he does have the kids, he's not available for 7 days, depending on the cycle on when he's available. So if you are the type who needs a lot of attention, who wants to just be with him all the time, you're not going to get that with a single dad because he's always busy. Anything else? I mean, there's plenty. I can elaborate for another 30 minutes here, but any questions so far?
One big question that I've had a few friends ask is, what is an appropriate or inappropriate question to ask, someone who seems to be a single dad on a first date? Because I've had friends say, like, usually it's taboo to say, when was your last relationship? Or ask people about past relationships and stuff. And they're kind of like, do you ask about the kids? Is it invasive? Does it come off as shady or something?
I think it's very appropriate to ask. And
Okay.
I was, again, when I was dating, I was very comfortable in answering those questions because I understand the concerns. I put myself in their shoes. Like, oh, here's a guy, he's divorced. That's already like a negative connotation. Okay, like what happened? He was probably a horrible husband. And he's also a single dad. So what is the schedule like? And when people see a divorced single dad, they automatically think the worst. Baby mama drama. They think about all these things and they don't need that in their lives. So I made it a point to convince them, or just be honest with them and let them know, like, hey, this is my life. This is what's going on. If you want to be part of it, cool. I am not looking for a mother. They have a wonderful mother. I'm just looking for a companion to date.
Exactly.
And that's another misconception that I had. A lot of women who didn't have kids would come up and say, I'm not going to raise no man's kids. I'm like, well, what makes you think you're going to meet them? And two, they don't need a mom.
Yeah.
They got one. So I would have come out like that. And I get the defensive approach because I know a lot of guys are the same way with single moms. There's a stigma against it. So I just made it a point to just present myself and be honest. And I would advise women, if you're meeting a guy and he is just speaking ill about his ex-wife, just calling her all these names, that's drama and that's none of your business. And why do you want to date somebody and get involved in that drama?
Yeah.
Just stay away from it. I don't care how good looking he is. I don't care how handsome he is or the potential you may see. That's a lot of drama that you don't need in your life. So just don't get involved.
Totally. And what is kind of the ideal relationship that, a single parent wants their new romantic partner to have with their children? Like, what is ideal, if it's not, another parent, is it, role model? What is kind of healthy? What does your situation look like?
Well, it's 4 years in, but it took time. And again, I didn't introduce my kids to my now fiance for at least 7 months. And this is during COVID. So when they were with their mom, she was with me. But I told her, like, they have a mother. I just want you to be maybe just their friend and just kind of hang out. And if they ask for advice, which my daughter did, just talk to them as a friend and just be like a best friend or older sister. And then later, let's see what this evolves into. And now it's becoming like a stepmother role, but that's through years of trust and situations and many conversations. So don't expect anything to happen super fast. And you shouldn't be, as a woman dating, expecting to have that responsibility. That's not on you.
Exactly.
So allow it to happen organically. And if somebody's asking you to be part of raising them, and y'all just started talking a month or two in, that's a huge red flag. So stay away from that.
Totally.
Is that hard to do, to keep your partner and your kids separate for 7 months? I feel like that's like a long time to keep two worlds so separate from each other.
Well,
and how do you introduce them?
Slowly. Like what I had done was it was a birthday, but before that, let me rewind. Like I said, my custody, everyone's situation is different, first off. The ex-wife had the kids for 7 days, and then I had them for 7 days. So when I was with them for 7 days, I was in dad mode. I respond when I can. We'll maybe go out this weekend, but I have my kids, and I hardly see them, so I'm dedicated to them. And then I'm free for the next 7 days, and then you can come over and do whatever. So anybody that I spoke to had to understand that that was my arrangement. And they have to be good with it. And I wasn't going to be as responsive to them if I had them. And believe it or not, I mean, that was, I think, was part of why I was successful in my dating life, because I had so many women say, you're such a good father. I hardly see that. Oh my God. Either they didn't have a good father figure, or they've dated so many guys who were single fathers and they were just shit guys. So they were just so impressed in how involved I was, how well I spoke of the ex-wife, how I said, no, I can't go. My daughter has a baseball game. They loved that I was so involved in my daughter's and my son's life that it impressed them more, and it gave them more reassurance that, hey, this is a good guy. So
nice. What was the first meeting like?
It was a movie at the house. We were watching a movie. Hey, kids, this is Erica. And she's hi. And she just said hello. And she bought pizza, and they ate pizza, and that was it. And they went upstairs, and that was it. Like a touch and go. That's it. We don't have to sit at a table and all talk and, get to know each other. I didn't force the situation. I slowly let it happen.
Nice.
And my son was very standoffish and very quiet initially. But now they talk about music. They both love punk music. And they're just talking about horror movies. And now my mother-in-law now lives with us, and he's talking to her mother-in-law. So it's cool. It takes time. People have to be patient with that.
Totally. And yeah, kind of our first listener had a question around kind of that first big meeting. So I'll read that first listener question. they rate navigating the big meeting. All right. So, and this person, they didn't reveal their gender, which I actually kind of like it when it's gender neutral because you can kind of look at how things could be different.
Okay.
Navigating the big meeting. I'm never married, no kids. Few months into dating my significant other who has 2 young children. Both them and their ex have a must meet me before meeting kids rule for any new partners. And with the holiday coming up in a few weeks, it's looking like this meeting will happen very soon between Christmas and New Year's. It's also possible other family members will be there as well, grandparents from either side. I've never gotten this far into dating someone with children, let alone an ex-spouse before, so I'm not sure what to expect or what a good game plan should be. Just want to keep my partner at ease, happy with my relationship, and I see this as a big next step. Don't want to screw anything up. What's the move?
I would, first off, that's okay. They've never met the kids or the family. So the first time this person is meeting the kids is at a major family event. That's a lot of pressure. I would not put that on the person I was dating. I would want it to be just like a picnic or at the house, but that's too much. Not only do you have to make a good impression on the kids, you got grandma and everybody watching you like a hawk, like, look at her, you know? So I wouldn't have put them in that situation. I would have eased it in.
Yeah.
That's too big.
Yeah, meeting the parents is stressful enough.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a lot easier to get disapproval than approval from,
Yeah.
especially a whole family gathering. They're all going to be like internally criticizing you before they're accepting you.
Totally. And like, I get how that could happen. Like, sometimes it's just, that's how the chips fall. Like with holidays, that's when everyone's home. How would you recommend to this person to maybe ask for something low pressure? Like, you know, I don't know if it would be like, can we do a quick meeting before or something?
I would ask that. I would let them know, like, hey, look, I really like where we're going, and I really want to make a good impression with your family, especially your kids. I know they're very important to you, but right now, I just feel like there's a lot of pressure, and I may not make the best impression, first impression with them. So can we possibly meet a week before, or maybe after the holidays, and just kind of ease into this? Because I just want to do what's best for us and me, and I just want you to know how I feel. If that should be enough, and that person should understand, like, oh wow, she feels or he feels a little uncomfortable, but. Sounds like a female. I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like I wonder. Do you think there's like kind of differences? Say if it's, you know, never married, no kids guy versus never married, no kids girl, where you know, they're meeting partner for the first time. Like, where would you see some differences or kind of areas that might be more challenging for one or the other?
If a single dad or a single mother. I'm sorry, I don't know.
Single dad or single mom dating never married, no kids.
Well, I can share my own experience because, again, I preferred dating mothers who had kids. And again, I was very cognizant of like, okay, let me see how she talks to her ex-husband. And when I saw drama, I stepped away. So when it came to meeting women actually, my fiance was the first woman I remember dating. No, who I dated who didn't have kids. And it was a huge shock to me because he was used to, like I just said, the schedule 7 days on, 7 days off. She called me on Tuesday. Hey, can I come over and stay the night? I'm like, it's a Tuesday. It's a school night. No, I mean, okay. But I remember her coming over and I remember being upset at her because she was taking time away from my kids. And I'm like, my time is with them and you're taking it away. And I remember having a hard time adjusting to that. And after a while, staying over on the weekdays was fine. But I remember it was a huge adjustment to me. So if you get pushback from a single dad who is dedicated to his kids and you're staying and normally that's their movie night and you're coming over, understand that it may be a little rocky. But because when you have kids, oh my God, it's a routine. And when that routine is changed, things can kind of, depending on how they react, they can get a little stressed or angry and it can mess with the flow of things. So just be cognizant of that. If he's got a set schedule and routine, ease yourself into that. Don't just go like a wrench in a cock system and break it.
Totally. And then what did your fiance have any kind of challenges that maybe stood out to her with you know, adjusting to, you know, never married, no kids, you know, kind of taking on that role of you know, now step parent, but easing into it? What were some challenges maybe she faced?
My stubborn head. I mean, I was me just being like making little things out of nothing. And for her, it was just the lack of, she really wanted to be with me all the time, and telling her no was something that she didn't hear often from guys. So when I would tell her no, it was because it was for the right reasons, but it was that connection. She needed more, but I said, just please be patient with me. And luckily, again, this also happened during COVID. So if it wasn't COVID, maybe it wouldn't have worked out. I don't know. But her adjusting to my availability was the toughest part for her.
Got it. No,
and me canceling plans, because sometimes I had the kids, we had plans, and guess what? The kids are sick. And now I got to cancel. So you can't really be mad at that. So you have to be patient with their flexibility and availability.
Totally. Before you met her, did you have any hiccups or roadblocks as you went about maybe dating other people on the way to meeting her?
Tons, a lot. Yeah. With kids, you mean?
Yeah, or just something that maybe was related to, maybe someone that was never married, no kids, and just something they didn't get, or any kind of.
Yeah, I had a few women tell me like, why I don't like dating men who have kids. And I'm like, why is that? If you don't mind me asking, because I didn't take it personal. I just want to hear what she said. She goes, well, I want to be the center of attention, and I want all of his attention. I want all of his. If I want to go to Miami next week, I don't want him to have to worry about babysitter. I just want to go. I'm like, well, that's not me. So well, good luck with that. So things like that. And I understand. I mean, I didn't have kids at one point in my life, and I understand that freedom and that flexibility is exciting. That's part of the fun part of dating somebody, those first few months where you're doing these spontaneous weekend trips and vineyards and whatever the hell people do nowadays. I don't know. But when you can't do that because he has kids, I can get that can be a turnoff.
Totally.
Yeah.
No.
But them wanting the complete attention and no baby mama drama. I'm like, well, there's no drama, but I wasn't going to explain myself because that's just what she thought. But yeah, and there's a lot of the same negative comments you hear about guys saying about, I don't want to date a woman with a single mom with kids. It's the same, but it's just not as vocal as you see on social media. There's a lot of women who were adamant in not dating because I had kids.
Totally. And was that something you were like open about, like when you were on dating apps, or that you would lead with?
Yeah, I said I had kids, and one of your questions you sent me was like, when should somebody be vocal about having them? I don't see why you would not be.
Totally.
That's kind of scary.
Yeah,
I mean,
I was just gonna say I've mentioned this before, but I dated somebody earlier this year, and it was probably like 3 or 4 dates in before he mentioned that he has a kid, and then another couple dates before he mentioned that he has another kid from another baby.
Oh my! He's got 2.
He's got 2.
Oh my God.
2 baby mamas, and of course not married, and never was married. But it was just like. You'd think you would lead with that.
Yeah.
Are
Why
they
are you
not
hiding
the
this?
center of your world?
Yeah.
Like what?
What were their ages, by the way? Just curious.
Oh my gosh.
They very young.
Shoot, it was like 8 and 6 or so, or 8 and 5.
Very close.
So pretty young.
Okay, pretty young. Yeah, they're babies now.
Mm-hmm.
You should be honest. I don't understand. I mean, I'm a proud parent. I've always have been. I just don't understand how or why you would want to hide that.
Yeah.
That's part of you. Eventually, they're going to find out. It's like a guy lying about his height.
Totally.
Why are you going to do that?
What is the point?
I've seen like the safety concerns, and maybe that's something that maybe comes more from like the female side of things, where it's like, I don't want to share pictures of my kids. I want to, keep that under wraps.
Oh yeah.
But
That's one thing. Like on dating apps, I never put my kids on my dating profile. But when I see people do that, like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's too much.
Totally. No, it totally makes sense. And then I'm trying to think of like what else was on here before. I really like our next question. And then what is for like women who or people maybe never, just in general, never married, no kids, who are dating someone who's been divorced, maybe divorced with children. What does a healthy relationship look like with an ex-spouse that you share a child with?
I'm gonna brag about my ex-wife now because it's like what we have. It's we don't see each other all the time. We talk almost every day, but it's like via text, and it's always about the kids. We never talk about our relationships or anything. She's married with a great guy, and right now we're texting each other on the way over here about gifts. She's buying something for my fiance, and I'm getting something for her husband. So I mean, it has to be respectful, and and that's another thing. If you're a woman and you date a guy and he has a healthy relationship with his ex-wife and that makes you jealous, you don't belong in their space. You have to be mature enough to say, okay, he's not leaving me for her. They're not still sleeping with each other. They're talking about the kids, and that's just part of the dynamic. You have to be mature enough to handle that. And for the men as well, because there was a guy my ex-wife dated who saw how we were just friendly, because everyone's so used to seeing the cliche, unoriginal trope where they hate each other or they drop the kids off at a gas station and exchange the kids there, all this bullshit. So when people see us, they always get shocked. And this one guy got super mad at her, super mad at my ex-wife, and said, no, you're still sleeping with him. But in bad words, I can't say it right here. And he goes, no, but he actually had that in his mind. He broke up with her, then started stalking her. And then she had to stay at my place for 2 weeks because he kept going to the house at 3 a.m, knocking on her door, saying, I bet he's in there. I bet you're effing him, this and that.
That's so scary.
We had to call the police and put like a restraining order. And again, that's another thing. That's why I was always cautious with not letting anybody meet my kids or showing people where I live because I don't want that situation. Someone knocking on my door at 3 a.m. and my kids are asleep and they have school the next day. Or they slash my tires and I'm going to take them to school. That's why I was very protective about not letting anybody near my kids.
Totally. Oh my gosh. And did your ex-wife have a policy of, anyone that meets the kids had to meet her first or anything like that, or
Well, I mean, we both had the arrangement. Like, we both weren't going to introduce our kids to anybody until 6 months, and before they met the kids, they met me, or vice versa, and then to see how it was cool. So again, it was like a check and balances sort of thing, and it only happened a couple times. One with her husband now, and then right now with my fiance, and they get along great. The first time they met, my ex-wife and her husband were coming to the house, but they took an Uber because they had a flat. And my fiance goes, "Well, you should have told me. I would have picked you up." And they go, "Okay." And then they went to a bar afterward, and we're at the house, and the fiance goes, "Well, I'm gonna drop them off at the bar, then come back." I'm like, "Okay." So everyone gets that's the way adults are supposed to behave and act, with no jealousy. And I wish that wasn't just like an exception. It should be the norm.
Totally. And I feel like I've seen like on Instagram, like Instagram story posts where all of you are out at dinner with the kids, and it's like it looks like such a healthy relationship.
They're coming over on Christmas.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And what kind of to get to that healthy relationship, though, I know kind of with the stories that you shared, it wasn't always that way.
No. I mean, the divorce wasn't pretty. I didn't leave her for another woman. She didn't leave me for another man. We just called it quits because 16 years married, but together 20. We're together 20 years. It ran its course. And like, let's go ahead and split ways. But there were some rocky moments after the post-divorce life. She went on this campaign on smearing my name, telling everybody what I had done, and everybody knows I cheated. I said that. And that was part of it, but she wasn't a saint either. She did some things I'll tell you after the podcast, but I won't say it publicly. So I didn't say anything. So she did go on. It wasn't as pretty as I'm making it seem. It was very tough to get there, but the goal and I guess what I was focusing the most was I want to be an example to my kids. I want to prove to them that things cannot work out sometimes in life. You can lose everything. You can be at a low moment, but you still can rebound and be a better person.
Totally.
So that was my focus, and I did that.
Yeah, and I feel like I think I've said before, the word accountability gets thrown around on TikTok a lot, and I feel like you're a very good example of actual accountability. Yeah, you have an incredible story, and I think that kind of leads us into our next listener question that I think would be really helpful. I thought this would be. I know I've heard you talk about this topic around feeling like you're starting over. But it's I don't believe they were married, but long-term relationship, and it's a man in his 30s, so thought it would be a good one. Yeah, subject line is landslide brought it down. You're a big landslide fan. No, but so I'm recently out of a 5-year relationship as of a few months ago. Wasn't my decision. I'm working to make peace with that, but I know it'll take a little while. There was no one in the wrong on either side, just an epiphany she had that I wasn't it, which weirdly makes it harder. So I'm not looking to date anytime soon until I'm done doing some work on myself, but that's not my main issue, though.
Good.
This breakup and everything that came with it resulted in so many other parts of my life falling apart. This has happened in a lot of ways, for example, going from living in a house to a studio apartment, but the thing that's been affecting me the most is friendships. I moved to my city with my ex 3 years ago, and our lives became so intertwined over the years. Most of our friends were other couples, and we were almost always invited to or included in events as a unit. So since the breakup, these friends have been kind of awkward toward me, if not totally silent. Based on Instagram, it looks like they're all continuing to hang out the way we always did, excluding me.
Yep.
I'm really kicking myself for being so spoiled with my ex basically running our social calendar. I wonder if that would have made a difference. The last time I got out of a relationship, I was 25. I had more single friends than I could count to help me get back on my feet. I was out with my friends getting beers the night of my last breakup. In a lot of ways, getting out of that relationship opened a ton of doors for me with making new friends. I had no problems just going out and seeing where the night took me, as the world was my oyster. But now I'm 33, and it feels like someone just hits the reset button. On top of this, my family's on the other side of the country. My friends from my past city, college, and hometown are all on the other side of the country as well. Even then, they've all moved on with their own lives and relationships. I'm not sure what I would say if I called them up. I feel so alone. People talk about loneliness as in not having a boyfriend or girlfriend, but no one talks about loneliness, not having anyone that can come with being single in your 30s. It really sucks. I know I've rambled a lot. I'm in a bad place, but I guess my big questions and advice needed is around how to get back on my feet. How do I make friends among a sea of people my own age who are out of the world is my oyster, let's see what happens tonight stage? Is there a way to get back to my old friends? And should I, even if I could, should I do something drastic like move? Any ideas?
That's exactly what happened to me
Yeah.
in 2016. He doesn't know that right now, but this is a blessing and one of the greatest things that's ever happened to him.
Really?
Because you'll find out, like, when really horrible things happen in life, like a divorce, you find out who your friends really are and who will call you. Hey, how you doing? Or knock on your door. Hey, how's it going? Let's go eat. You know, there's people that say, let me know if you need anything. There's people that knock on your door and say, let's go. I need to get you out of here. Let's go get you some food. Those are the best friends. And I had none like that. He doesn't have anything like that. So right now, the blessing is that a woman he was with for 5 years said, you're not it, which is a blessing because why would you want to be with somebody and, you know, to get married and then 20 years down the road, you were never the one. I've been cheating on you. It's better to know now up front than waste time and waste a lifetime. And the friends, they never really were your friends. If they're not coming around, checking on you, calling on you, it was her life, not yours, that you're a living part of. So the people that didn't matter in your life are gone. And now it's just you. And again, like he said, maybe he should have took more responsibility with the social calendar. Now he gets to own that. So now he gets to discover himself. He needs to heal. It is just going to suck and it's going to hurt. But I've been there. And you're going to have those lonely moments. You have to put yourself out there into the world. Just go to random places. I would go to clubs by myself. And I don't know if I told you this story. I would go to clubs because I go, what do women find attractive? What's the best dancer? How do guys dress nowadays? So I went to a club and I remember going to like women. I go, ladies, I'll buy y'all drinks in a second, but I have a question. I've been married 16 years. I don't know what handsome is to what's attractive to y'all. Can y'all point to me what guy in here is the best dressed looking man? And they go, really? And I go, who's the best dancer? I want to learn from him. And they just, women were going out of their way to help me. And they go, well, first off, men don't dance no more. And I'm like, really? She goes, look out there. What are they doing? I'm like, they're just standing, holding their drinks. And what are the women doing? I'm like, they're just grinding in front of them. No, nobody dances anymore. You want to go see dancing, go to a country bar. I'm like, okay.
Yes.
I went to a country bar, and that's when I learned how to two-step. And I'm like, when did Footloose become a country song? It's like, it was so different. I'm like, it's a dance song before. Anyway, but I went out there, and I met people. And before you know it, people were like, hey, stay around. And it just happened. And it was awkward at first, but you have to put yourself back into the world. And now, because of your partner planning everything, what do you want to do? I liked comic books at the time, comic book movies, so I went to Comic Cons. And I just went out there and like, okay, I got nowhere to go. Do y'all need volunteers? Yeah, can you go? They gave me a shirt and I was volunteer. Then I ended up climbing the chain and I ended up being Robert Englund's assistant. So I started meeting my people and started doing things I wanted to do and just discovering me. And it's terrifying, it's scary, it's lonely, but I look back at that as the greatest period of my life. And if anybody's listening and you've lost everything, it's a reset and you finally get to do what you want now. That is your past. It was wonderful while it lasted. Learn from it, but don't dwell on it, but grow from that. Now go do whatever the hell it is you want to do. Whatever you always mentioned and your partner said, no, I don't want to do that. Now you have no one holding you back. Go do it. And just you get to... It's beautiful how life, when it takes things away, but it gives it back to you. Like I lost all my friends and all of a sudden I would get friends who I hadn't heard from like in 5 years. I bump into them like, hey, is this the way the universe works? Like it takes a friend and then brings the one that you haven't seen. It's a beautiful thing. Just go out there with positive energy and be pleasant. If you're heartbroken and mad, you got to work on that. But be a pleasant person to be around because people like positive energy and work on yourself and discover who you are and take advantage of the situation. I'm sorry you're going through it, but it's a blessing in disguise.
Totally. And then kind of, because you've mentioned some really cool ideas, what do you think are some great kind of activities or groups that are great for men in their 30s who are single, you know, maybe in this position or just in general, just, you know, they're looking to meet more people, maybe they move to a new city, that kind of situation. What would you recommend? Do
what they love. Like, is it gym, cycling, painting, tattooing, I don't know, whatever you love doing, go to that group and find people within your space. I would go to the movies. I love movies. I would go to the movies by myself. And whenever there's like a movie festival, I would go because I'm with my peers, my tribe, so to speak. So whatever it is, it doesn't matter the city or wherever you're at in the country, whatever you love doing, bowling, anything, hiking, just go do that and meet people organically out there. And you meet your people and slowly grow from there. and just get involved. I volunteer. I even volunteered at I love elderly and I love kids, so I volunteered at like a nursing home. That's oh my God, the place is so heartwarming. I love old people, but volunteer your time, and you get to meet people and discover like, hey, I didn't know this was a passion of mine, but I'm actually good at blank. So put yourself out there.
Totally.
Live. Put the phone down. Don't live through your phone. Go out and live and just live.
Totally. No, that's a really inspiring message. I just got chills.
Did you? Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's a really good message. And yeah, because like I feel like that's just one of those things, like people never think about the collateral damage that can come with sometimes like the loss of a relationship. Like I feel like I would say like divorce or like those kind of like long-term relationships, it's hard that it sometimes feels like people like take sides or like it sucks.
Let me ask you this, because I know in breakups and even in my divorce, like I felt responsible for it and I wanted to punish myself, so I didn't allow myself to go and have fun. Do women do that as well?
I think I know when I've been out of relationships, it's like that feeling in the back of your mind of like, this person didn't like me anyway. I felt like when I got out of a relationship, a few years back, it was kind of like, oh, I met this person through my ex significant other. Maybe I shouldn't reach out. It's more their friend than mine. And I sort of look back and I'm like, I could. What would the harm have been if I just tried? Like it would be like someone that maybe was a girlfriend of someone he was kind of friends with, and I was like, it might be weird if I reach out. And I look back and I'm like, it wouldn't have hurt. I think like, and so it was almost like punishing myself of like, oh, these aren't my friends because I met them through him, and it was more in my head. I would say.
Did you ever punish yourself like after a breakup, like you weren't the nicest person and?
Right. I don't know if I like punish I definitely, I think, in some ways relate to your ex-wife, where it's like in that interim period after you break up with someone, you are like, it's like the only thing you can think about. And even if you don't really believe that person is as bad as you're talking about, it's like the smear campaign is like the only thing that is like connecting you to other people almost. And then in retrospect, you always regret it. You always regret like speaking ill of the person that you dated, always, because you can't take that back. And so I think what I've kind of learned is like when you are getting back out there and interacting with people, people respond really well to like kindness and warmth. And so when you're like trying to meet people wherever that is, like with you, I mean, have you always been a very sociable person like that? Have you always been able to just walk up to people and talk to them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, totally, right?
But you know what? I was before I got married, and then while I got married, I went into dad mode.
Okay.
And I was like more or less not an introvert. An introvert, yes.
Sure.
And then when I got divorced, I was able to be myself again because I hadn't been myself in years.
Yeah. Was it hard to get back into it?
Very. I had to force myself out.
Right. And I think that there are a lot of people that like maybe don't have that gift, and I think it can be really hard for them. When you were reading that listener mail, the thing in my head, of course you had a much better answer, but in my head I'm like, oh, you should move to a new city. You should move to a new city and start over. But then I'm like, oh, well, a lot of people do not have that option. You can't just do that. As much as it seems like it would be easier to just start fresh and then you have an excuse to go out and like meet people in like the normal way, rather than having to go out and be like, hey, I'm recently out of a relationship, and kind of trying to explain yourself. But yeah, I guess as much as you want to punish yourself, as much as you want to like suffer a little bit, it's not going to last forever. It's not going to last forever. And there's so much like in your city around you. There's so many different people to meet, and it feels like there isn't at that time. It feels like it's like, oh, I'm going to go out and I'm going to run into him. I'm going to run into his friends. His friends hate me. They're talking about me and they're thinking about me.
Well,
and there's
like that's a trap you've fallen into.
Oh my
just, like,
God!
Everyone's like just being. It's just like everybody hates me, and all his friends have heard every terrible story about me, and all these people are out there hating me, and it's kind of like. We all see ourselves as like a reality TV star where everyone's watching our show and talking about us, and I don't think it's like that as much as we think it is.
It was for me though, because she went on that campaign not only with the friends but also at work. My brand at work was destroyed, and it really it ultimately got fired because no one wanted to work with me. It got really bad.
Did she regret it? Does she look back and
she does?
Like,
she does.
I'm sorry.
And I forgave her. I mean, it's over. I have a better job now. I work from home, so it's like. Everything happens for a reason, whether it's good or bad. You have to learn from what happened and just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's some like I'm kind of upset with young men nowadays because I was trying to coach them and they all quit. Like I'm trying to coach them up. I'm like, okay, you were heartbroken. I get that. I'm validating your pain. Now we need to move on. No, women ain't shit. I'm like, okay, yeah, there are some women out there that ain't shit, but there's a lot of horrible people. But we need to coach you up. No. So they never wanted to get coached up. So there's a lot of people with this quitter's mindset.
Why?
I
Why
don't
do you
know.
think is it like the rejection is so painful that they fear experiencing it again, or embarrassment? Like, why do they quit?
I've been thinking about that for months, to be honest, and I don't have an answer. For me, growing up, maybe it's a generational thing. Quitting was never an option. Maybe it was movies. I don't know, but you never quit. You kept going, and I don't understand why people have given up on women, given up on men. I'm never going to get married. Well, that's a different topic. But just people had just given up on the other side, and they don't even want to try. It's like they've made up their mind, and that's it. I mean, we've all been cheated on. I cheated. I have been cheated on. I've had my heart broken. We've all been in that little spot, but I don't think there's something in me and us that we would never hate men or women, right? I mean, it happened. We move on from it. I just don't get why there's so many people that have given up. Maybe they don't have enough experience. I don't have an answer. I don't.
Right? Maybe it is like a lack of exposure thing. They don't have enough experience with good people of the opposite sex.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah. And I've always had more female friends than male friends, especially after the divorce. Like I said, I went to clubs and I'm like, who's attractive?
I love that. I would love it if a man like asked me that. Was like, okay, who's the best dressed in here? Please tell me.
Yeah. And it also helped me with my social skills, talking to people, learning what social apps, what Snapchat, what is that? Okay. Yellow, can I see that? Okay.
Yellow.
So I had to relearn everything. So I used it as practice to just reassociate myself with other people and just put myself out there. So it's fun. And again, what's the worst they can say? Go back to your rejection therapy. What's the worst they can say? It's like, no.
No, yeah. And that's the thing, too, is like when people say no, like we always have the fantasy in our head that they're going to go and grab their bullhorn and yell, hey, look at this person asked me out and I said no. And it's like, no, it's not. They're not going to sound the alarms. Like, it's not that bad. It's not fun, but it's not that bad.
And there's something about pain, like that story you just read from that guy in my divorce. When you go through so much pain, it's like, and you survive it. You're still waking up the next day. You're still there. And you're seeing the good in life again. You almost have this invulnerability and like shield around you. Like, okay, I just went through hell. What's her telling me no going to do to me? Not a damn thing. So anytime any woman I would ask them out or like buy them a drink, they say, get away. I'm like, sorry to bother you. Like, you have a wonderful evening is what I would say. I would never call them a lesbian or slut. Whatever guys say now, they're like, fuck you, you're ugly anyway. Yeah. I'm like, no. I would just smile and I would say, I didn't mean to bother you. Have a wonderful night. And sometimes it would come and like, hey, just wanted to say you're really nice. I'm like, okay. You want a drink? It's just like, but just be nice and be pleasant. And but again, there's something about pain that you can use that I just think there's a lot of people out there who don't understand how strong they are. And they don't know they have that inner fight in them, and it's there. And I just wish people just have more confidence in themselves.
Yeah.
How did you meet your fiance?
Hinge.
Okay, I was just gonna ask if you got on dating apps after.
Oh yeah, I was great at those things. Yeah.
Honestly, when I started with that, it was like I would match and then almost meet up with somebody and then bail because I was too scared and I just didn't want to. I don't know, I got scared. But now, like I think with practice, I'm like, all right, I'm coming over right now.
Yeah. Let me ask you, why were you scared though? Like what was that fear?
Honestly, it was like oh shit, if I'm going into this, I now have to like perform and I have to worry about how this interaction is going to go and I have to be in control of like how smoothly it goes and what if this guy is weird and what if and I get stuck at a dinner that I can't get out of, like that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
And now I think I'm just more adaptable to it. It's kind of like I'm much braver. If it is going poorly, I'll get up and leave. I don't give a shit. Maybe that's just getting older. I don't know. But like, yeah, things have gotten a lot easier with practice.
And you know what? I think I sensed that when I first started dating. That's why I never did dinner. It was drinks. Let's just have a couple drinks and see how it goes. And if we hit it off, then you get the dinners and you get the other formal events. But my first dates were always drinks.
Same here. Yeah, cool. Dinner, like, I feel like eating's so intimate.
And what if you're talking and food comes out and it's like,
yeah,
exactly.
right?
Like, I'm disgusting. Don't look at me.
Exactly. No, yeah, that's totally right. Yeah, and this like flew by.
Did it? Okay.
Yeah, Rudy, do you have any like parting words before we kind of close this out? We've had some great topics around rejection and getting back out there, being stronger
Yeah,
think? And
I don't have any final like message, but again, to anybody who's listening, I know it's the holidays and the holidays are rough. Even for me, I'm being honest. I have a podcast live coming up tomorrow called My Lowest Moment. As happy as I am, as happy as blessed, I have a beautiful son. My fiance's amazing. Everything's wonderful. I still get sad because I think about December of 2016 was the worst holiday of my life. I had to sell my house, and the house closed December 23rd. I couldn't give my kids one last Christmas in their home. I felt like a failure. I felt like I let them down. I was alone. I have a video on my TikTok page. I put it up there to help people get through this. So I still get sad. So I'm gonna share my lowest moment, and I think about how far I've come, and I don't know if I can do it again, but I did it. And to anybody out there who's going through a divorce or heartbreak, and then the holidays are tacked on, keep yourself busy. Just go out, reach out to your family, be involved in making tamales and whatever, and gift wrapping. Just put yourself out there, look at the tree, don't dwell in the past. I promise you, I'm almost 8 years past my lowest moments. You never really get over it, but it does make you stronger, and it gives you better perspective on what to appreciate. I live so much in the present now. In the past, I was always thinking about what I haven't done and what I did. But when you live in the present and just focus on what's around you, you're blessed with people that you get to meet and the family and friends that are around you. Love that now and just be appreciative of what's around you. And I promise you it'll get better. But I know what you're going through, and just hang in there and keep your chin up and get up the next day and just go live.
that's a great message.
I just made that up right now.
Thank you.
But it's true. It's true.
Anything you want to tease that's coming up in the Rude Advice world?
Well, I have that live. I'm going to share my lowest moment. I had a video vlog of me just kind of just venting back in 2016. So I'm going to share that just to kind of give people some hope. But no, I got more videos coming up. My Facebook page is blowing up. So if you want to see me on Facebook, go right over there, Rude Advice. But yeah, my podcast, I usually launch one a week. The day's not set, and that's on me. But check me out, and also go to TikTok. That's where it all started. That's where I met you.
Yes, exactly. Remember that. Annabelle, any final words for us?
No, I did think it was funny because I was watching your TikTok videos, and then like minutes later, Charlotte texted and was like, "Hey, do you want to do a podcast with Rudy?" I was like, "Yes, yes."
So
yes.
excited.
I'm super obsessed with the. I mean, this is a whole nother topic, but I'm super obsessed with the wedding vows. Things that are going on right now. I can't get enough. I love seeing them. It's like, it's terrible. It hurts my stomach, but I completely agree with you where, you know, it's like you
She
get
knew
to
who
that
you was.
point.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of know what you're getting into, you
Exactly.
know? So
I also think another side note is people are really bad at falling for skits on TikTok. Like there's somewhere
There's
I'm like,
so
this
many
is,
oh my
skits,
God.
man.
this is
right?
not a wedding. Like this is someone who put on a white sundress and you can see the friends giggling. Like this
Yeah.
is not a real wedding.
Yeah.
And we're all falling for it, hook, line, and sinker.
You know what I can't stand is like when the couples are talking and they're arguing, but it's this, like the other person's holding the phone and filming the other person. Is that like a millennial thing? When y'all fight, do you actually record, or are those skits?
That's what makes me think it has to be a skit. Like
Yeah,
if
I don't
someone came
believe
up
it.
to me with a phone, I would be like, yeah, we're not doing this.
Yeah,
Like,
you're
I'm
arguing
out.
like, what are you doing? Recording? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so fake. People fall for it, and it's all reactionary, and that's all TikTok is, man.
That's
yeah,
exactly.
you have to
Nothing is ever, it was fine. It's either wonderful or terrible.
Yeah.
Classic
And going back to the vows, though, yes, she knew who he was, but at the same time, I respect my fiance and love her so much, I wouldn't embarrass her like that in front of her family and
Exactly.
friends. And if she had kids, the things they would say, I mean, no. I mean, but then again, I think we all, because I had this conversation with my fiance, we all have that one friend who's so vulgar and so out there that it wouldn't surprise me if he said that. And maybe he should have just pulled it back a little bit, but it's a lack of respect. And I would not have done that.
Yeah. It's like you have to, if you're going to marry someone, you need to be able to trust
Yes.
that they will not try to embarrass you in a big moment like that.
Yeah.
If you can't 100% trust it, there's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think for the biggest day of your life, you want a second set of eyes on your vows. Just get a friend.
Right.
A friend, hey, is this thing I think is funny? Is this going to land? Like, I don't know. That's
What do y'all
just
think
me.
about the cake thing where they cut the cake and they shove the cake in the face? I wouldn't do that.
So all I know is like what wedding photographers say, and it is that for all of the weddings that they photographed where that has happened,
Yeah.
divorce. for all of them. Like where,
Wow.
yeah, if it's like, oh, she puts a little cake on his face and then he shoves more cake into her face, divorce.
Yeah, I would never do that. No.
Yeah.
No, I'll never do it.
I know there's some families where face in the cake has been a tradition. Like it's like when a
Yes.
kid has a birthday and they put the face in the cake. And our mom was always like, no, it ruins the cake. It's mean. And the kid
It's a waste
has
of
to have the
food.
Yeah.
Yes.
waste of food. That's a classic, like what our mom would say. But like, so for me, it just I never understood it, and I'm just like, you've spent the makeup artists are so expensive for weddings, so it's
Yes.
like just no, like there's funnier
And her
ways
hair,
to do.
her everything's expensive. Like, why would
Yeah.
you mess it up?
There's better photo ops that are cute and fun that don't involve that. I think throughout a wedding.
Yeah, I mean that's a huge red flag. Whenever I see that at weddings, I'm like, and I don't go to them as often as I used to. But like, there's this 10-year gap. I think 10-year period in your 20s, maybe 22 to maybe 32, whether you go to weddings every year, and then that stops. But I remember seeing that a lot. I'm like, yeah, that's not gonna work.
Totally.
That's not going to work.
Yeah,
Totally. No, yeah, I'm not a fan of it.
Mhm.
But yeah. Wow, we are at time.
Our time, okay.
All right, let's close this one out. Rudy, thank you so much for coming back on here today. It has been an absolute pleasure. You're a fantastic guest. This is one of my favorite
Thank you.
episodes so far. Just
thank you.
Very thoughtful answers to our questions, and
You're
I know our
clearly
listeners
very
will love it.
experienced with this, and I
yeah.
love
You can
that.
tell.
Being able to chat with you, and you like
you.
are so well thought out. I feel like when I talk, it's full of like and and I mean, I'm
No.
speaking colloquially, but like I feel like you have you're very well spoken, articulate, and like clearly you've practiced.
Thank you.
it, so
Thank you so much.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. Over and Merry Christmas.
Merry
This is our
Christmas.
Christmas
Happy New
episode.
Year.
Ciao.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Bye bye.
And to all a good night.